Hey everybody, it's Ryan, Proper Power Solutions, joined with the Proper Dog, Skeeter. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how to hook up the Proper One Downrange off-grid electrical kit from start to finish. This video will cover each component, how to wire it up, how to program it, and all the little details that you might need in order to do this install properly the first time. This is the Proper One Downrange DIY off-grid electrical kit. You'll get all the 80/20 pieces with the connectors and everything to build the box. And then from there, you follow the diagram and the instructions to hook everything up. So in order to save time on this video, the box is already assembled. And what you're gonna do first, once the box is assembled, you're gonna put the light strip across. Okay, this will come pre-wired, ready to be tapped into your 12-volt distribution and into the light switch, which will go right here. And then once you plug this in, on and off, all you gotta do is hit the light switch and it'll come on and off. The next thing you wanna do is install the battery base. So this is where the batteries are gonna sit. And then we have the two hooks here, which will use a ratchet strap to hold the batteries in place. So all of that is already mounted and good to go. We have our chassis ground here, which we just attached to the box for the time being to hold it in place. And the ground for the inverter charger here, which is gonna get mounted right here. And then we have our two DC to DC chargers over here, which we hard mounted to the box vertically so that you know, these can pump out a lot of heat, so you just want to make sure that these are positioned the right way. And this is what we got so far. So now we're going to go ahead and walk you guys through how to hook everything up, and let's get into it. Alright guys, so the easiest way to go about this is to go ahead and lay the box flat on its face like you can see we did here. And then go ahead and grab the Multi-Plus mounting plate that comes in the box, and using the screws provided, securely attach that plate to the frame of the box. Once you do that, go ahead and grab the inverter, slide it over the mounting plate, ensuring that it is securely locked into place from the top, and then using the screw holes at the bottom of the inverter, go ahead and attach it to the frame of the box on the other side. We used a bolt and a nut to lock it into place securely from the bottom, and you can see here we are just tightening it down, making sure it's nice and secure. And then once you do that, go ahead and flip the box back upright, and as you can see, this thing is not going anywhere. Oh yeah, look at that, look at that, very secure. All right, and on to the next step. Alright, so now that we have the Multi-Plus securely mounted to the frame of the box, we're going to go ahead and make our positive and negative connections as well as our ground connection. So using the 4-out wire, we're going to go ahead and make those necessary connections. And then using our hand, we're going to hand tighten and then come in later with a socket and make sure that's nice and secure and not going to go anywhere, as you can see we're doing here. And then go ahead and grab some outdoor mounting pads, which you can get from Home Depot or Lowe's, and some zip ties. What we're going to do here is run our 4-out wire to where the Lynx distributor will later get mounted. And we're going to use the mounting pads and zip ties to keep those wires nice and organized and clean. A clean system is a safe system. Okay, and as you can see here, good to go. And on to the next step. Boom. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and focus on the dual DC to DC chargers, the Orion. What we're going to be looking for is the green 2-pin plug located on the bottom side of each Orion. What you want to do is, using 18-AUG wire into the H pin of that plug for each Orion. And then butt splice those two wires into another piece of single 18-AUG wire with a ferrule attached to the end. This wire will get ran to the mounting position of the Lynx Smart BMS 500 where you will plug it directly into the BMS, giving the BMS control of your dual DC to DC charging setup, like this. And then we're just going to use some zip ties and keep it nice and clean as we like it. And then what we're going to do is go ahead and grab 10 gauge wire, and we're going to make the necessary connections for the ground and power out for each Orion. Once those connections are secured inside the Orion, we're going to run them to the mounting position of the Lynx distributor. And of course, using zip ties and mounting pads, we'll make sure everything is nice and tidy, ensuring our system is clean, safe, and organized. And once we do that, we're on to the next step. Boom. Now go ahead and grab the mounting board, which comes with the Proper Downrange off-grid electrical kit from Proper Power Solutions. And go ahead and slide it into place. As you can see, everything is already pre-cut in all your holes to run the wire. Already there. Really simple, really easy, and good to go. Once we have the mounting board securely fastened to the frame of the box, what we're going to do is grab the Blue Sea 8077 AC main on-off switch. What we see here is it is already wired to be connected into your inverter where it says AC in 1. We have our hot, neutral, and ground. This component is also going to be what you wire your shore power inlet into, and this will control your ability to either use or not use shore power for charging your system. So on those two screws at the top, you'll do neutral, hot, and then use the same ground terminal for your shore power inlet. And then we're just going to go ahead and drop it into place. We'll wire it up later. For now, we're just going to go ahead and drop it in place, and we'll move on to the next step. Boom. Once your AC main on-off switch is securely mounted to the mounting board, we're going to grab our 3 dedicated AC circuits, which is a component you see here in front of me. We're using 10-3 wire for this install, and one of these wires will get ran directly to the inverter where it says AC out 1. The other wire is pre-wired to get connected to the outlet, which will get mounted on the outside of your Proper Power electrical box. The AC out 1 will give power to this breaker, and then the rest of the outlets or other 120 volt appliances you plan on adding to the system will get ran directly to this, and you will control it using the breaker switches on the opposite side. That wire right there gets ran directly into the AC out 1, where you can see the connections I made there for that connection. And below it are the connections necessary for the outlet, which get mounted on the other side of the box. Once you have these connections made, go ahead and mount it on the box. Once you have it mounted onto the mounting board, what we will do is take that 10-3 wire that's not connected to the inverter, and we will run it over here, which is where the outlet will get later mounted to the box. And then all you'll have to do is connect that 10-3 wire to the outlet, and you'll have a 120 volt outlet to use for whatever it might be you want to use it for. Right there. Boom. Done. Next step. Boom. Okay, and once those two components are securely mounted to the mounting board, we're going to go ahead and make the connections inside the inverter. So we're going to go ahead and start with AC in 1. This is going to be what allows shore power to charge your system when you're plugged in at a campsite. So we're just going to feed these through here, and it's going to go neutral, ground, hot in that order inside where it says AC in 1. You don't need to use ferrules for this. You can. Ferrules are a tool. It's not a necessity. I didn't have any lying around, so I decided to not use them for this particular install. But we're going to go ahead and just shove these in there. You'll hear it kind of click into place when it's secure. And then to make sure everything's nice and tight, give it the old pull. Make sure nothing pops out. This is the connection for the AC main on-off switch right here. Once those are securely fastened, you're going to grab the 10-3 wire coming from your 3 dedicated AC circuits, and you're going to plug that into AC out 1, which is on the bottom here. So we're going to go ahead and feed it through the gland. Make sure our wires are nice and straight. And we're going to go ahead, feed this through here, and following the same exact routine, we'll do neutral, ground, hot, Shove them in there. Give them the old Yankee-danky test. Make sure nothing's coming loose. Once everything is secured, we'll go ahead and move on to the next step. Bada bing, bada boom. All right, so before we move on to the next step, let's take a quick little recap and see what we got. We got our 10-3 wire connected to the AC circuit breaker, which will power our outlet. We have our 4-out wire coming from the inverter there. We have our two 10-gauge positive and negative wires from the Orions, already pre-fed. That is a RJ45 cable, which is connected inside the inverter where it says VE bus. That will get connected straight into the Serbo GX, which you will see later. That is the H-pin connection from the Orions, which will get plugged directly into the Lynx Smart BMS. And now we got our AC breakers right there, AC main on-off switch. And now we're ready for the next step. Boom! All right, and next what we're going to do is go ahead and mount our Lynx distributor and Lynx Smart BMS 500. What you're going to want to do is go ahead and remove the case. You'll see this little gray wire here. There's a connection inside the distributor on the far left side. That wire will get plugged into the distributor and then across into the Lynx Smart BMS 500. This is what will enable communication between the distributor and your BMS, and will allow for the LED indicators. And also, if a fuse ever pops, you'll get the indicators on the GX Touch 50 display screen. So what we're going to do here is line it up with the mounting holes that are pre-tapped on the mounting board. This makes for a quick and easy install. Once it's lined up, all we've got to do is grab our impact, a couple screws, and we'll go ahead and make sure this is nicely securely fastened to the mounting board, as you can see I am doing here. Once that's done, bada bing, bada boom, next step, boom. Once we have securely fastened those two components to the mounting board, go ahead and put the cover for the Lynx Smart BMS back onto the component. We will no longer need to access the internals. And then what we will do is go ahead and make the necessary connections for the inverter and for the dual DC to DC chargers. The inverter is going to get a 400 amp mega fuse. The dual DC to DC chargers will get a 100 amp mega fuse. We'll go ahead and tighten it with our hands first and then come in later with a socket to make sure it's nice and tight and secure. Making that negative connection first. Put the cover separating the positive and negative terminals, and then go ahead and make that positive connection like this. One thing is important to note. The 4-AUG wire in this install sometimes will require you to slightly alter the lug so that it will not sit on the plastic part of the mega fuse. If the lug is at all resting on that plastic part, it'll send false errors to the BMS, thinking that fuse popped. If that keeps happening to you, most likely what it is that terminal is resting on the plastic part of the mega fuse. And so what you'll have to do is make sure that that's not the case. Otherwise, you're going to have some problems with your system. So we're just going to make those connections. We're checking to make sure the mega fuse is what it should be. And it is. So we're just going to finish off those connections. Once we do that, making sure everything's nice and tight and secure, we'll be moving on to the next step. And what do I love to say? Boom. All right, and so now you can see that we have the Serbo GX mounted just to the left of the BMS, and I'm holding the 11-pin connector, which is connected to a 4-circuit DC breaker with the blade fuses. I pre-wired this ahead of time, as this is a more complicated aspect of the install. As you can see from the diagram to the left here, all the connections and everything is laid out really nice for you to follow. So I'm just going to go ahead and plug that into the BMS, and those two black wires right there, they're wired into the number 10 and 11 on the bottom of the BMS. These will get ran over to the edge of the box where the outlet will be mounted, and there will be a switch that those are wired into, and that will become your system on-off switch, which will cut power to the entire system. So if you ever have to do maintenance or upgrade it, update it, whatever it might be, you have that master on-off switch right next to the outlet, which is a really nice feature to have for any system, and is really the proper way to do it. So, and then this wire right there I'm holding is the power for the Serbo GX. So I'm just going to run it down there, make the connection, and then bada bing, we'll be moving on to the next step. You already know what it is. Boom. So as you can see here, we've added a couple different components to the mix. We've got the 220 amp Smart Battery Protect, which is going to disconnect your battery from non-essential loads before it's completely discharged, which would damage your battery. We've got our 12 dedicated DC circuit breaker here, which you will connect all your 12 volt loads inside the system right here and then fuse it with the SD blade fuse. We've got the dual stud bus bar, which is for the negative connection for the 12 volt circuit breaker and for the 220 amp Smart Battery Protect. We've also got a 30 amp MPPT solar charge controller, which at 12 volts is going to accept a max of 440 watts. So we're just hooking this up right now. All right, so to walk you guys through what we did here real quick, you can see I'm making the negative connection from the circuit breaker to the dual stud bus bar. You can see there's also a fatter wire connected there. That is ran to the Lynx distributor. And the wire to the left there connected to the Smart Battery Protect, that big wire, that's 2 gauge. That is also ran to the Lynx distributor. That is giving power to the 12 volt distribution. And as you can see there, I'm wiring in a breaker. That is a 100 amp breaker for the 12 volt distribution as well. The green 3-pin connector right there, that is the negative cable for the Smart Battery Protect, which is ran to the dual stud bus bar right over there. And so that about wraps it up for that. And I'd love to say it, boom. And so at this point of the install, it should look something like this. We got the dual stud bus bar there for the alternator. 12 volt distribution, dual stud bus bar for the negative connections. That's ran to the distributor right there. That's fused with the mega fuse, 250 amp. That is for the 12 dedicated DC circuits and for the Smart Battery Protect. That's 2 gauge wire we're looking at, blah, blah, blah. We got the 2-pin connector there connected into the number 4 slot of the BMS. Actually, excuse me, it is the number 6 slot on the BMS. And it's terminated there with the little blue thing, terminated. We got that, we're showing you that. H-pin ran all the way up into the number 4 port on the BMS. That's what we're showing you there. That's giving the BMS control of your dual DC to DC setup. I'm showing you that's a 50 amp. It should be a 100 amp, but we didn't have a 100 amp, so we used a 50. But it should be a hundo. Serbo GX, you can see down there, it's that's its power cable. That's connected to the BMS as well. Dual stud bus bar for your power in for the Orion, and then the other terminal will be where you connect the cable from the starter battery to right there. Bada bing, bada boom. 440 watt solar MPPT. That's that last port there. That'll be fused inside the Lynx distributor with a 60 amp mega fuse. And then we got the batteries to hook up. That is our ground. We got the 10-3 wire for the outlet. M8 connectors for the battery to connect to the BMS right there. Yep. Good. Just kind of doing a one take on this. So we're going to make those connections here in the next video. That is your on-off switch connected to the BMS number 10 and 11 on the bottom. That'll be your master on-off. Got the 2 RJ45 cables, one from the inverter, which will get plugged into the VE bus port there. The other one, notice how it's terminated. That's essential. The other RJ, yep, that one right there, that is ran to the BMS. And then we got the port for the GX Touch 50. And good to go. All right, so at this point in the install, go ahead and grab the Proper Power box wrap. As you can see, we've already got the temperature-controlled fans installed. We have a video more in depth about that, which is not as long. So if you want to learn about that, refer to that video. And then we also have the switches, which I've already hooked up there. We've got a more in-depth video on that as well, which is only about 60 seconds long. So refer to that if you want to see that in depth. And then we're just hooking up the outlet here. It's already connected to our AC breaker. So we're just making the necessary connections there for the hot, neutral, and ground wires. And then we're going to plop that into place. All of these cuts come pre-cut, so all you have to do is basically assemble everything and plop it into place, which is really nice. And then all we have to do at this point is connect the batteries to the BMS. And then at that point, we're going to fire it up and show you guys what it looks like. So 3, 2, 1, boom. So we just fired it up. We're getting our LED indicators here. We're getting this. Turn on the lights. Those are good. And there you have it. So you hook up the Proper One downrange. Okay, everything AC current limit is set to 50 amps. You can control everything here, charger only. This will control the inverter, charger only. You can go to off. And then we can turn it back on like that. And we got power. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the settings. Battery temperature sensor, we did not hook up yet. Everything is on here. You can also turn the system on and off right from this. 0 errors are the best errors. And we can come in here, we can kind of check out some of the diagnostics, last errors, fuses. Distributor A is okay. We can see fuse 1, 2, 3, and 4, all okay. Okay, click into the device. We can see everything's connected, good to go. What I want to see though is if we go to settings, DVCC, what you'll see is it's forced on. When you're using the Lynx Smart BMS 500, all the parameters and programming for this system are controlled by that, and automatically the DVCC is forced on, and it will program your entire system for you. You don't have to worry about it. 9 times out of 10, when it comes to Victron systems, people miss the programming the most. And so having this ability to just click this and have everything programmed is a really nice feature to have. Online portal is enabled, so everything here can be accessed remotely. We can go into here and look at the remote console. Everything's online, good to go. Make sure we have two-way communication secure. Two-way communication, that's going to allow us to actually activate, shut down, program everything from our laptop anywhere in the world. If this is not clicked on, you can still access the VRM portal, but you won't be able to do anything with it. You can just kind of take a look and see what's going on. And that's about it, guys. If you guys have any questions about the Proper One downrange, let me know. There we have it.